Welcome back to the John Fourcade Show, presented by Veterans Ford, 3724 Veterans Boulevard in Metairie. The deal, just one of many. The end of the year, the end of the month. Look at the all 2015 F-150 XLTs. Look at the total savings, over $11,000 or $12,000 in total savings. Come on, man, you can't pass that up. And look, that's your kind of vehicle right there, whether it be the big one or the XLT. John loves driving those big trucks right here at Veterans Ford. Again, 3724 Veterans at Division in Metairie. Ken Berthelot filling in today, sitting in for Mike Detillier, who will be back next week. And John, primetime Saints, they normally rise to the occasion. Last night on primetime Monday Night Football, that's not the time to lay an egg. As a matter of fact, I hate to say it, as they lose 35-27, I get to sit in with you when the Saints play on Monday night and we tape on Tuesday because Mike can't make it on those days. I may not be sitting in with you again because I don't think the Saints are going to get a Monday night game for quite a while. They're going to have to prove they can build a team that's worthy of playing Monday Night Football before they get back on Monday night.
I mean, you look at these stats right now, and if you look at it by stat-wise, 399 yards, 396 yards, you'd say, man, it's a pretty good even team. Who won the game? If you look, Drew Brees was on fire, Kenny, and, I mean, let's be honest, when you play as bad as they played early in the game, and that's the problem, when it's 3 points in the first half. You cannot get down there and give me 3 points in the first half with a team like the New Orleans Saints, who are capable of scoring a lot more than that. They turned it on in the second half, but the way the game started out, 12 of 13, Matthew Stafford, nickel and diming to death, and the defense is still not there for the New Orleans Saints. I don't care how you want to put it, and because they played last week and beat Tampa Bay and played pretty decent defense. Tampa Bay is nowhere near the caliber of offense that Detroit can be, and Detroit's defense did step up until a little bit toward the end of the game. But overall, this picture right here, this is a bad football team. They're playing a lot of new faces, fresh faces, guys that we don't really know about. But Kenny, they got a lot of overhauling to be done.
And the head football coach looks perplexed when he talks about it. That's the scary part. He knows that the fix is so far away that it's going to take a long time to rebuild this football team. When you look at what Matthew Stafford did to the Saints defense, it's a shame. As a matter of fact, we have a graphic for you. Every quarterback wants to play against the Saints defense because they get their best passer ratings when they play against the Saints defense. Look at this. Look at Tennessee, Cleveland. I mean, just you look at the passer ratings of the quarterbacks and you go, wow. And that's when they play the New Orleans Saints. It's unbelievable what the quarterbacks have done individually to the New Orleans Saints. And again, as you said, when the Saints get to the end zone 3 times in the first half and none of them count. None of them count. Come on, penalties, mistakes. This is just not like a typical primetime New Orleans Saints team. Unfortunately, it is like a typical 2015 New Orleans Saints team.
Well, this team right now, we all know as well as anybody out there watching them and listening to them, they got to make some changes at the end of the season. We understand that. We know going into this last 2 weeks of the season, they're going to play a lot of guys you probably won't hear about. Majority of it's on defense because you got to have you guys on offense. We already know about who's on the offensive side of the ball. The main question now is what is the injury update on Drew Brees? He's getting an MRI done as we speak today. We don't know what's going to happen to him. I personally think it's a plantar fascia, sort of like what Peyton Manning has. What I saw him do to his foot last night kind of showed me that it wasn't an ankle, it wasn't Achilles. I think it's just a stretch of a plantar fascia. But let's just be honest. When you get down there, Kenny, in the first half, it's first and goal, and you come away with nothing, and you run a screen play on the 1 yard line. That's right there told me that they're desperate for something. Who runs a screen on the 1 yard line?
Well, Drew's definitely favoring the right foot yesterday, and the question now is, depending on the outcome of the MRI, do you play Drew in 2 meaningless games at the end of this season, or do you try to save him, make sure he's healthy? You need him to start rebuilding or continue rebuilding this team, because there's so many problems here. The one draft's not going to fix this. You realize that. A couple of trades aren't going to fix this. This team is far away, and the question for Drew Brees is does he realistically, in the time he has left, does he realistically think this team can come together in time for him to win another Super Bowl here in New Orleans? I don't think he's got enough time left for that.
Well, the big question is, he's got a couple of years left with him, and knowing Drew Brees is like any other athlete, he's going to want to play. If he's hurt too bad not play. That's one thing. But knowing Drew, he's going to want to play, want to give his effort. He'll never, disband his team, jump off the boat, as you want to say. I think he'll be around here. I think he'll try his best to do whatever he can to get back on the field this upcoming week against Jacksonville. But like you had made the comment about more players, it's not about just 3 or 4 guys. They need 10, 12, 15, 20 new players to help with this football club. It's just a team right now struggling. You saw what you saw last night against the Detroit team. Detroit's got a good defense. Detroit's got a pretty good offense. Now, they got their problems, but the New Orleans Saints prime time usually shows up, Kenny, and do well enough, and they just didn't do it.
And look, before we get into something else, injuries definitely have played a part. There's been a number of defensive players that have been injured or in the injured reserve, but this is still some problems that have to be solved. We'll talk a little bit more about that later on. Before we take a break, I want to get into some of the accolades due to Drew Brees. A 4th player again, 60,000 career passing yards, only the 4th quarterback to do that, along with Favre, Peyton Manning, and Dan Marino. Brett Favre, but that's a very, very exclusive club to be in. And of course, the 10th season now that he's had 40,000 passing yards. So, I mean, it's just unbelievable, man.
Well, he's just a little bit ahead of me. I think he's only got about 58,000 ahead of me right now. But I'll try to catch him in my next life,
Also, kudos go out to Benjamin Watson. What a game Benjamin played. I'll tell you what, he has just stepped up in the absence where they've really needed him to come in and be the tight end, and he's come in and really got the job done.
Yeah, some guys have stepped up and played football. We got to give Watson, and I think Colston has played very well last couple of situations where Colston has stepped up there. So some guys still stepping up, playing their hearts out. That's because you know why? They're professional players. They have to.
Yeah, and the Saints were 30-0, undefeated when they played turnover-free football. Last night, the first time they lost a game with Brees and Sean Payton, where they played turnover-free football. Now 30-1. Weird stat, but there it is. Unbelievable that they would play turnover-free football and the defense would just put in such a poor effort. And the offense too, because they had a lot of opportunities. Sometimes Drew Brees, even on the hobbled right foot, bought time. Receivers couldn't get open. Receivers dropped the ball. Receivers couldn't hold the ball. And sometimes it was just a good defensive play, but
I'll look at it like this.
Plays.
Before we want to talk before we end the show about Morton Anderson, but really quick on that situation, it's defense and offense, because the first half the offense played poorly, defense played pretty decent, and then to flip it over, offense played well. Second half defense wasn't there. Talk about Morton Anderson.
Yeah, Ring of Honor, Morton Anderson, and such a great guy, and again the leading scorer in the National Football League, again with all the points, 302 made field goals. Point-wise for Morton Anderson, he had 2,544 career points, and when he stepped onto a football field, you just had confidence that Morton Anderson was going to deliver.
Kenny, I got the hold for him. I got to see myself on TV last night holding for him. I looked pretty good on that hold, and I helped him a few times, with the football. No, he didn't need me helping at all. I enjoyed holding.
If you were holding, thank goodness it was a good snap.
That guy was, yeah. We had Joe Hilgenberg snapping, me holding, and Morton Anderson kicking. But what an honor to have him as a teammate, and he played 25 years in the NFL to his 47 years of age. He probably still can kick right now. The Great Dane, that was his nickname.
The Great Dane, and he just loved this city. He loved the culture. He loved the food. As he said, he even liked the ladies. They didn't walk. The ladies in New Orleans don't walk. He said they sashayed. And he always feels a part of New Orleans. He's waiting for a call from the NFL Hall. And he'll get it. He'll be in there one day. Morton Anderson, congratulations on being inducted into the New Orleans Saints Ring of Honor. We'll be back with more. We're going to take a look at the Panthers. Can they go undefeated? When we come back on the John Fourcade Show, presented by Veterans Ford.